It's good to see you. I must go. I know I will go. Anyway,
Hold him. Now you listen to me, you hillbilly punk who thinks the world's still round. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's flat!
He's an interesting guy, man, and, you know, he believes it, so. Kyrie, the earth is flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, whatever.
The earth is flat. That's news.
That's news. Here we go. Keep on that take.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship currently at war with the mainstream scientific community. Meanwhile, the peanut gallery is just doing what he does, keeping me informed of what I do wrong. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, well, then you're not very good at the internet. For those of you listening to this on YouTube and you want to hear the show live as it happens, please go to Truth Frequency Radio for the latest schedule. Currently, this show is on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. And if it is not March 20th, 2018, you are listening to a rerun. However, since this is a pre-record show, technically it's already a rerun. So it's probably messing with people as we speak. It's not going to be a call-in show, just so you know, because it's a pre-record, which means this already happened. You're actually looking back in time. Quote of the day. I didn't actually get one, so I'll just make one up. No matter where you go, there you are. That's from Buckaroo Banzai. Great movie from the 1980s. Quick little announcements. The Canadian Flat Earth Conference is going to be this August in Edmonton. Of course, the American Conference is going to be in Denver, Colorado in November. And I will be attending a film festival in Toronto next month where the big United States documentary called Behind the Curve is finally going to be released. After 3 months of editing, it's going to be a lot of fun. I have not seen the final version, and as I'm sure you guys know, I will give you my review once I sit in the seat and try to squirm away because I'll be up on the screen and I'll just be terrible. The Mark Sargent Flat Earth Challenge. This is my personal declaration of war from Flat Earth against mainstream science. I, Mark Sargent, hereby put forth a challenge to any university, foreign or domestic, to debate or discuss the Flat Earth reality. The short version is this. You fly me in, take care of my hotel, and I'll face down any scientific body you put against me. My only debate requirement is that you have someone with a master's degree in a physical science either participating in or supervising the event. Accept this challenge, you'll be treated with respect. If not, then you're just cowards hiding behind empty equations. Excuse me. So tonight is going to be a subject matter expert show, and let's rattle off who we've had so far in our subject matter expert series. We've had a United States Navy missile instructor, a United States Air Force navigator, a Marine Corps sniper instructor, a Navy submarine chief, an Army artillery radar operator, an Australian intelligence officer, an American flight instructor, an industrial engineer specializing in valves and seals, a career surveyor of 32 years, an international shipping expert, a corporal travel agent, an air traffic controller, a United States Army master gunner, an aviation and ground training combat expert, a USDA surveyor of 27 years, a 32nd degree Mason, an etheric science researcher, a commercial airline captain, a commercial airline co-pilot, an industrial vacuum expert, a merchant marine, an Army air traffic controller, a United States Navy quartermaster, and tonight we've got something new, and that's going to be a United States Navy cryptological technician. So, Mr. Navy technician, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, it's just you and me, and we're not going to be taking any calls because this is a pre-record, so I'm not giving out the phone numbers to anybody, and if you try calling in, you're just going to go off into space and you'll be listening to the show. But I can't pick you up because I'm not actually there, and neither is this guy. So, where should we start, you and I? We've known each other forever. No, that's not true. We don't know each other at all. But you came to me again. If I had an autobiography, it would be called Unsolicited because everybody's reached out to me, including you. So, do you want to start with what you do? I'm sure you've got a few notes here. What you do, how you got into this. This is all about you, man. So, what do you got?
Sure. So, I guess a good place to start would be what a cryptologic technician is.
Sure.
There's a few different variations of it that the Navy has to offer, but my specialty deals with anti-ship missile defense, and that's just the headline title for that.
Okay.
What it really breaks down into is basically looking at how a radar operates and manipulating the electromagnetic spectrum in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
So what that kind of entails is, we have to know what a radar, how it operates, what its function is, the range, characteristics, etc. Basically, like how you would identify your own child or someone in a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Get like a profile on it.
Right.
So what the job basically, has us do is sit in a chair, look at a screen, and you get a bunch of numbers on the console, and just basically have to know what that is and how to respond to it, whether it's a threat or commercial or civilian.
Uh-oh. So your phone's fading out just a little bit, just so you know.
Oh.
That's okay. So ship defense. So ship defense, radar defense. You are looking at screens. The quintessential guy inside a dark room, looking at the numbers, seeing if anything coming at you, be it on water, and I imagine you're looking at air targets as well, is friend or foe.
So if it has a radar on it, it doesn't matter if it's on the land, in the air, on the water, under the water. If it propagates a signal, then, and we pick it up and we'll have information on it and we can respond and make intelligent, decisions based off that.
Sure. Sounds about right. And are you tied directly to the weapon systems, or you just report to the weapon systems guys?
So our job is more of a supplementary, like fill in the blank. So you have like a surface warfare area, an air, and a subsurface, and they rely on us to give them validation on what they see as well, based off their own radar detection equipment.
Got it. So in the movies, when they call it out, when they say, we've got a bogey at whatever it is, 50 miles, you guys are called to confirm that.
Right. So that's called a check print, and usually what it does is it calls on a list of operators sitting on consoles doing specific jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have one guy saying, "Oh, there's 2 aircraft," or "There's 2 radar pings," and then the next person's like, "Yeah, it's their aircraft," and then the next person's going to say, "Well, they're flying a commercial route, or they're not at this altitude." And then they're going to look at us and say, "Does it have a radar on it? And if it does, what does that relate to? And does that radar platform have weapons on board it?" and what are the range of those missiles, and then we make recommendations based off what we find.
So you're really kind of in the business, really boil it down, of threat assessment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So whatever's out there, can it do any damage to the fleet? I mean, are you part of a? And again, if I'm stepping into any area because I don't want you to release any classified information, I'll treat you the same way I treated the Navy missile guy. Are you part of a particular group, like a big group, or is it mostly standalone ships?
So every surface ship nowadays will have a electronic warfare operator. So that's our old nickname before our rating converged with cryptological technician.
Yeah.
So every ship will usually have a division of personnel that are specifically doing this job, and we'll communicate with people on shore sites, other ships, but it's a duty station. So
okay.
That's what I've pretty much been doing for the last 7 years, is training and deploying on ships as that job.
No, I'm curious about the name change, because I'm old. I'm old. I'm old enough to remember electronic war back in the day. Electronic warfare was what it was called, and so when was that a fairly recent change? Honestly, when you said cryptological technician, I'm going, okay, is this like when they changed shell shock to battle fatigue type thing, and then finally to post traumatic stress?
Kind of. So every now and then, the Navy creates jobs based off technology that comes around and either it gets phased out or blends in with something else, depending on manning and money concerns.
Right.
I believe this happened in around 2004. Was
okay.
the last, I guess, when that transition happened officially.
That's fascinating, and actually ahead of the game, because now we have cryptocurrencies. And
not really.
I'm pretty sure cryptocurrencies wasn't a happening thing back in 2004. So
right.
Yeah, so you guys actually for once the military got their titles in front of everybody else.
I think it's caused more rivalry, more like in-house rivalry than anything.
Really?
Well, so to be considered electronic. Let me rephrase this. When we're on the ship and we're doing our job, we're considered EWs. But anywhere else in the Navy, that nickname doesn't apply anymore, and it's just a CPT, for instance. I guess the main difference would be an EW operates, supervises, and maintains that piece of equipment for the ship. Where a CTT is more or less just we call them straight sticks, where they just sit on the console and operate it, but they're not fully in depth with how the machine works. And
you're not going to be pulling the screen off and start hot wiring the damn thing.
No, they got away with that too, but so that's called 2M maintenance.
Okay.
I don't know what the acronym stands for, but a technician or an EW would be someone who's more in depth with how the console works and how all the equipment behind it operates, and something breaks, they would rely on me more so than a straight stick to put it back together.
All right.
So it's I don't know, in the terms of looking at circuit boards and testing attenuation and resistance on those things, it's I guess there's a little bit of pride that gets mixed in there when you have the schooling for it and
Gotcha.
do your job.
Yeah. All right. So you've been doing this for a number of years, and you're still. Are we allowed to say that? You're
I'm still active.
Okay, still in, which is why, of course, we are not mentioning any names or ship deployment. We're not going to be seeing the same thing with Sean McCurry. You're not going to be, taking a selfie of you next to your console necessarily.
No, I wouldn't be able to do that anyway. It's a sensitive space. But
gotcha. Hey, which reminds me, if you watched, let's kind of blend in. We'll segue in and out. You obviously got a hold of me because you'd listened to some of the other guys that were doing this, and I've had a number of military guys. Did you see the Sean McCurry thing where he was actually filming the video inside the Sparrow missile training room?
Yes, I've watched most, if not all, of your exposés on your subject matter experts.
Cool, thank you. Did that surprise you? I was a little, because I asked. In fact, my co-host at the time pleaded with him. It's like, look, dude, you're the first one. Maybe you should be a little anonymous. And I knew what he was doing. The Sean, he was like, he was very clever because if they try to run him out on a Section 8, is it still a Section 8 in the military? Is that still a thing?
I don't think we call it that anymore.
Whatever, mental discharge, whatever you want to call it. If they throw him out on a mental discharge for flat Earth, well, that's a New York Times book right there. It's like that thing writes itself. So either way, he had himself covered because he was going to get out. He'd been in like 10 years, and I think he made it to like 11 or so before he finally got out. But my question to you was, when they did this, when he was shooting inside that Sparrow missile system room, I would think that at least part of that room would be classified?
I guess it really just depends. So you can be in a classified space and like take pictures, record if it's known that it's going to happen. So that's usually they call that scrubbing the space. And what they'll do is they'll like lock up everything that you'd consider classified or top secret or whatnot. Just depending on what the caveat is.
Huh.
And if that room was an unclassified space that was just there to house the equipment, that may be the case, but just from looking at it, from what was presented, I would say I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And plus, it's not like he was walking around with people going, "Hey, you're going to be on YouTube." He was really quiet about it. He said nothing. The room was almost dead silent, and he just writes down flat Earth and then Mark Sargent on the cocktail napkin, and then flips the camera around and then cuts out. I was like, are you allowed to do this, man? Because I don't want to, this, but I'm throwing it up there. And to date, I've never gotten in trouble for it. He's never gotten in trouble for it. So it's like, all right, fine. That's fine with me. Did you, was there anyone, because, if you've listened to my stuff for some time, you've obviously been in the community for some time. Was there any one person that finally made you call me?
Actually, it was. I would say when I first started looking into this, your first initial clues, because that was like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably right around the time when I started looking into this, and I wasn't really interested in making a phone call, and it was probably also because I didn't have anything to really talk about either at the time. It was more of just like an intrigue and interest more than anything, and I guess as far as people of influence that helped me get along to where I am today, it would be yourself, Jaronism, the Flat Earth asshole, Matt Powerland before he got, before he stopped, Eric Dubé, just to name the ones I can remember off the top of my head.
All right. That's cool. Was there any of the subject matter expert series that you liked more than most? As far as the people I rattled off, military guys, non-military guys, is anybody you thought was really, really interesting? Like, oh, I did not know that.
Well, for all the surface, maybe people, a lot of the things I've seen in one way or the other, and I feel like I could elaborate a little bit more on that. I don't disagree with what they're saying, and just speaking from my own perspective on the matter. You're a guy on valves and you said submarine, right?
Yeah. There was a missile guy. I'm looking at the military. There's Sparrow missile instructor, Air Force navigator, Marine Corps sniper, Navy submarine chief, Army artillery radar guy, Army air traffic controller, Navy quartermaster, and Army master gunner, tank guy, and I think that was it. All the military guys.
So the speaks on, or the talks you had on pressure and the laser guidance system for the fire control radar.
Yeah.
Those, I would think, from where I'm standing, would be one of the more relevant topics.
Okay.
attention.
Okay. That's cool. So was there, let's get into it then. Using your, however you want to describe your tech, what resonates with you? What do you look at and say, you know what, might be onto something?
So there's a few other things that my job entails. We do this thing called Snoopy Team, and I'm blanking on the acronym for it. Nautical or otherwise photographic intelligence. I don't know what the is.
So wait. So Snoopy is the acronym, really?
Yeah. So Snoopy, it's a collateral, and usually what it entails is taking pictures, and what those pictures are used for is briefing in or being emailed out to the Navy, and they'll make decisions based off that. So we'll get a call like saying, hey, there's a fishing vessel or a low-flying aircraft or a warship on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
They'll call us up. We're there within 3 minutes. We report that our team's up. We pull out the camera, make sure the batteries are good, take a picture, multiple pictures. We're usually up there for about an hour, so our eyes are just keen on what's going on, outside of the ship, and we document everything that we can see observably, from people on the outside to whether there's radar spinning, which goes back to what my job actually is. So I can just call down to combat and ask them what they have on there, and I'll know exactly what they're talking about. And then what flag they have, so we know country code. Then we pull up the AIG on that, which is basically the insurance serial number or VIN number on the ship,
mm-hmm.
which we have on a GPS system, and they'll give us even more information on it, so we can. It's like Facebook stalking, but for Navy.
Nice.
And so we take all that information, we put it in a report, and a little brief is made from that, and we present it to the captain of the ship and all the department heads that are involved. That gets emailed out to whatever fleet that we're operating in, and then usually we'll get a message back if it's relevant to what's going on.
Wow. Very, very
That's
that's pretty in depth. What you guys are, I didn't realize it was that integrated. That
it's very time consuming. That's one of those things where as long as the sun's up and you can take a picture, we're pretty much on call whenever you do that job.
So what are you? Again, forgive me for being dumb. What are you taking shots with? You don't have to tell me the model or anything like that. Is it just military? Are you using drones? Are you using just ship-based cameras?
It's about a $5,000 to $7,000 camera, depending on the lens.
Nice.
It's a lens like a Canon you might see on an NFL field to take those.
I was just gonna say that you and I are absolutely on the same page. I was just gonna say, wait, is this the same type of pictures that they take of the offenses and defenses, and they fire them off to everybody in all the booths simultaneously, and say
it's a big DSLR.
It's like, oh yeah, this is the nickel package they're running. Only you guys are doing it with ships or whatever else is out there.
Right.
Nice. So, and imagine 99% of the time it's routine. It's like, oh, okay, this is, again, depending on where you're deployed, this is a, Australian ship. This is, a Soviet cruiser we've never heard of, and they're scanning us right now.
They don't usually go too far out, but things like that. We would basically look at what it is, and we'll get reports from other ships that have gone by that would say, hey, these Chinese fishermen they have a radar or communication device that we've detected, and they're probably communicating back with, the PLA to let them know that we're out there.
So what, I've came up with another analogy. So you guys don't really care if it's a boat. What you care about is if the boat has tech. That's what you're really concerned about. It's like, yeah, fine. It's some water skier. Who cares? But if the boat has tech, then it's like, okay, then you give it extra special attention.
So I guess a good way to put it down is we care if it's military.
Well, of course.
And if it is, then we care if it has, what kind of radar it has, what its capabilities are, and what kind of weapon systems are attached to that.
Right.
if all that checks out, let's say it's like a commercial airliner or like a fishing boat,
Right.
then we'll care if it has tech on it, and we'll care what the people are doing, if they're acting differently than, just minding their own business, or if they're throwing stuff over the side or running around and looks like they're making phone calls on a satellite phone or something.
Right.
And then that's when we usually send out the Coast Guard or the VBSS to board and do a search on them.
Nice. So yeah, you don't take any chances. Anybody's looking even remotely suspicious, you're sending people out.
Right. Well, at least make the recommendation, and that's where the officer of the deck on the bridge or the captain or the XO to make a decision on how we handle it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I hate to say this, because, there's a lot of Navy equivalents to the whole Star Trek universe, but it's kind of like that. It's like, what kind of ship is it? Are they scanning us? Picard, it's like, what are their capabilities? And right. they rattle them off, and it's like, let them go, or whatever, or hail them, or whatever it is. So basically, you're just doing a lot of data analysis, threat analysis, constantly for just about, and most of the time it's benign. 99% of the time it's like, it's these guys or these guys. I'm a little surprised that, so commercial airliners, how high up do you track those?
It really depends. So you have to think about it. Well, so every radar is a little bit different,
mm-hmm.
and we typically can't see aircraft unless they're facing us.
Yeah.
So if they're facing us, we can, probably as high as that commercial aircraft can go up to.
Wow. So, but they have to be facing you because that's how they're forward scanning. That's why.
Right. I mean, they have no reason to look on their sides. They're just always in front of them. But it really just depends. And the way radar or like frequency wave propagation works is like all over the place. It's fairly consistent, but depending on the atmosphere, it can be right in front of us and we can't see it, or it can be like miles and miles away, well beyond what you would expect would be average or normal, and we can still pick it up.
Sure.
It really just depends.
Wow. So again, I'm trying to envision this. Your ears perk up if you get pinged, obviously. If somebody, because that I'm sure lights up a few things on your screen. Have you ever gotten pinged from a surprisingly long range? Like out pinged. They see you
several times actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
Здравствуйте, Gorbachev.
Hello, Colby. This is the White House. Ronald Reagan speaking.
Hello, my old friend. How are you today?
Finally, it's time for a daily chess match. Are you ready?
Yes. My last move yesterday was a queen from E6.
A good example would be like off the coast of San Diego. There's like 30, 40 ships out there, and they'll normally do exercises, south of like Mexico, like not in Mexico, but along those lines.
International waters out in that place. Yeah.
Yeah, closer to Mexico than the United States.
Sure, why not?
And I've seen ships over 500 miles away, nautical miles. And I guess to break down a nautical mile, it's 1 mile equals 1.2 nautical miles.
Right. I think I worked that out when I was dealing with the Navy missile instructor, where it was like, okay, 50 nautical miles is roughly 60 land miles, statute miles. It's kind of ish.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I got it backwards. But yes, that is.
Yeah.
That is so.
Yeah. So. Whatever.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
the old rules still apply for nautical miles. Like you guys, the fact you guys still use them is amazing. They're never going to change it either.
That's the Navy for you. We hold on to our traditions.
Yeah, I'm a big tradition guy myself. Anyway, so you're tracking ships during maneuvers at 500 miles out.
Yeah, so the furthest I've seen a ship on the water is over 500 nautical miles. The furthest I've seen an aircraft was on the other side of Japan. It was over almost 1,000 nautical miles away.
Wow.
And we verified that through our other CTs in another part of the ship that deal with off-ship sensors.
That's amazing.
So we were able to verify what we saw on our console with other information that was being sent to us or being requested to be looked at.
I didn't even know the rings could go out that far.
It's weird. Like I said, sometimes we'll see things that are unexplainable, and other things we can't give a single answer to what's in front of us. It really just depends.
So radar, even in 2018, isn't exactly a perfect science.
Well, it's not the radar or the equipment's fault. The equipment works as designed. It's all the things you can't account for once it leaves the dish or the.
Gotcha. Weird electromagnetic frequencies, atmospheric conditions, solar flares. Take your pick.
Right. There's really no good answer to pinpoint it.
No, that's all right. That's interesting. Very interesting. So, 500 miles for ships off of Mexico. That's, as you know, has a massive amount of curve to it. Are you, again, you don't have to reveal what exactly the tech you're using, but now that you've been in the community for a while, does that seem strange to you that you should be able to view ships at 500 miles?
I don't know. It's a big question, and the reason I don't have an answer is my own technical training is very vague on the subject as well. They explain the phenomenon. It's called ducking.
Ducking.
It's where ducting, like an air duct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, like, imagine having an air duct and yelling something at one end of the house to the other,
right?
And as long as the AC is not on, you'd be able to hear each other back and forth all day. But as soon as something gets in the way of that, then, good luck.
An interesting premise. I don't know if that's now that you've given that to me, I'm going to have to come up with some sort of analogy in the next couple of weeks. Well, because, I mean, yeah, I get it. Anyone that's worked in construction, they know that, of course, but, and you could call it tunneling or whatever. Look, sound carries down tubes. The question is, well, how does a radar beam travel 500 miles and hit a ship when on some days you can't even hit 100 miles?
Right, and that's typically what a radar is rated for, is depending on what its purpose or function is, whether it's a missile firing system or a navigational radar.
Right.
They usually have about a set range of efficiency, or like a peak of where if it goes any further, you won't get a bounce back and see what's out there.
But I don't even treat that differently than, it's not like every day you can see the Chicago skyline from across Lake Michigan. There are some days
right.
The weather's crappy. You can't see anything. I mean, let's face it. There's some days you can't see 2 miles, let alone 50 miles. So, but again, with radar, that's so odd. You wonder what's causing the giant discrepancies. And if you're actually saying that at some during rare occurrences you can see 1,000 miles, did you say the other side of Japan?
Yes. So we were in the Pacific, and this was closer to China, Russia area, and we were seeing a foreign aircraft, military aircraft, flying and just doing its thing. Probably had no idea we were looking at it.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, why? How would it know that you were looking at it? That must have been a heck of a. I mean, that kind of compares with the whole long distance photography stuff that the community's been into recently, which is there's world record things for photography, and usually it's peak to peak on mountains where the atmosphere is thinner. But that is so odd, huh? Well, So, no, it's really strange. The Navy missile instructor, which I was talking to, he was saying, look, when it came to the targeting systems of the ships, he goes, look, we're hitting ships at 50 nautical miles with beam radar, and he goes, it should not be possible. Because it's not like we're angling things. We're not bouncing off a particular point in the sky. We're going ship to ship. And, 50 miles is 50 miles. And, that's 50 times 50 times 8 inches, which is, over 1,000 feet of curvature. So are you, and again, I don't know what systems you're exposed with, but let's kind of jump into some, your opinion type thing. You've been in the community now for a couple, over 2 years, and you're still in it. So there must be something resonating with you. Are you, are you saying that you, use a play on words here, you're on board with this?
Can you take that one more time?
Oh, no worries. I mean, so everything that you see in your daily routine when it comes to the Navy, does it more or less reinforce what the community's been saying for a while, which is, look, it looks like we can't find a curve on the water. No Navy guy I've run into can find a curve. Do you find a curve?
Right. So that was on my last deployment about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to take it upon myself to try and observe this curve, try and prove to myself, to have some validation to believe in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So one of these Snoopy team events, we were called out for, like you said, a routine, ship. There's just a boat in the water, nothing special.
Right.
And we usually stay out there for about 15, 20 minutes later just to make sure there's nothing else popping up. We'll check they have a console that gets radar feeds on the bridge, and it helps the pilot steer the ship, for hazards and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we look out into the horizon, and we have these binoculars. They're called Big Eyes, and I think they're 20 by 120 power.
Yeah, I know this type.
For magnification.
Yep, they're bolted to the hull type thing.
Say again?
They rest on a stand, and they're
Yeah.
bolted to the hull so they don't move.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we look forward to the ship on our port side or left side. We see what appears to be some kind of building or skyscraper or a lighthouse in the distance. And we get on the Big Eyes, and all we can see is what we found out later to be was a shipping vessel, like a tanker.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked it up on the radar, and we saw that it was, 16 nautical miles, moving at approximately 24 knots from our port to starboard.
Okay.
And all we could see was the mast, nothing else.
Okay.
And when I looked through the Big Eyes, what I observed was something that I'm sure you're familiar with, a mirage effect.
Right.
But the mirage wasn't inverting or distorting the ship. It was literally floating above this band of air.
Yep.
Of different pressure.
Right.
So we looked at it through the Big Eyes, and I had a visual confirmation of a ship that was in front of me, well beyond. So that's almost 18 statute miles.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did the measurement, I found out what ship it was based off the serial number that was provided. Got an estimated height from the bottom of the ship to the top of the ship, and it was standing about, I want to say it was like 130 feet.
Okay.
Above sea level.
Big ship.
And what I was seeing, it was a big ship, and I was only able to see the bridge mast sticking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was close to probably about 50 feet from the bottom of the pilot house to the top of the mast.
Okay.
And it was just standing above this band of air.
Right.
And I couldn't see anything through it, and it looked like it wasn't disproportionate or anything, but it definitely looked like it was about 18 miles away.
Yep.
And I had a talk with the QMC on board a couple months earlier about the Chicago picture.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, how far can you see, like, what's your line of sight on a ship? And we estimated, I think it's like 50 feet above sea level, you can see about 12 to 13 nautical miles. And he said no further than that. And on most cases, just like how radar, a fire control system works, on most cases, you're usually going to get the prescribed range that you learn. But this was a lot further than that, and it wasn't below the horizon. It was above a band of air.
Yeah.
With 50 feet of the ship sticking out.
Yep.
And, I ended up getting into another discussion with him about that, and this is when I was talking to everyone about this on the ship, and they usually didn't want to hear it, but I brought that up to him, and he just stopped talking. It was one of those things where I felt like I caught him in a crossroad, and he just didn't want to talk about it anymore and left the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Well, I mean, when you overload somebody's mind, when you overload their processor, there's only so much they can do. And in his case, I don't think he was about to break it down. I mean, you put it in his head, sure, but yeah, there's
maybe.
Well, no, I'm sure he did. I'm sure it's out there. I mean, the pilots I have talked to, the boat guys that I've talked to, they've all said the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, you don't think about it. And the longer, I don't know how old this guy was, but the longer you're in it, the more you just take things for granted. The pilots are fascinating, because pilots, they're, up at 30, 40,000 feet, and they've got that wonderful cockpit view, that 180 cockpit view, and they all see, nothing but a flat horizon, and they see it every day that they fly. But since they're told it's a globe, they don't, it's this paradox. It's like, okay, I see flat, but I was trained in a globe. So what do I do? What do you do? It's like, okay, well, you know what? As long as I land and everybody's alive when I land, I'm just going to do that over and over again and just not really dwell on it. And yeah, what you're talking about, the atmospheric effect, otherwise known as atmospheric lensing, otherwise known as the Fata Morgana. It's fascinating because it's most prevalent over water during mild to warmer temperatures when you get this weird band, and we've got wonderful video of it on all sorts of different things. Some of my favorite was from Jaren, where you can see birds flying into it and disappearing. It looks like they're just diving straight down into the ocean, and they're not. They're just flying into this band, and then they just vanish. And the ships, it's honestly, if it's part of the design, it's brilliant because it creates that weird distortion effect. And to your eyes, if you're told, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is how the boat's going over the horizon, even though it's just the hull that's distorting. It's just going off into the distance. It's shrinking down to 1 pixel to where your eyes can't see it anymore. That does it's fascinating, but it works out, and long distance photography has really changed it for us. We wouldn't have this discussion 20 years ago because we didn't have HD cameras with ridiculous zooms that you can buy for cheap. $500 you can get an 83 power zoom or whatever that is, and so interesting stuff. And again, you're breaking the first rule of Flat Club by talking to your guys about it. Well, did you like bring it up as like just a casual conversation, or did you do? It's like, yeah, I saw this weird thing on the internet.
So I tried different approaches with different people.
Mm-hmm.
It just became, well, I guess this kind of goes into where I started looking into this, and it starts off looking at like movie reviews on YouTube, and then you just go down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you get recommendations for your whole existence being something that you don't think it is, and
right.
I try and stay away from that. And for a couple months, I kept getting flat Earth video recommendations, and just like everyone else, my whole mindset was, this is stupid. Why would someone think that? And I think what got my interest originally was the boats going over the horizon.
Yep.
And what the guy did, I'm sure you've seen this one, but it's the tanker that goes through the bay, and he doesn't cut for like 20 minutes straight. You can just see it slowly fading out.
Right.
You know, it's not going under, it's just going out. And I said, well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, that was up in, I think, the Netherlands, somewhere up in some of the northern countries. And he shot it from the docks. Yeah, fascinating.
Right. And but I would say what for me it took about 10 weeks to re-educate myself, if you will, or just learn this new train of thought.
Yeah.
And you know, same thing. Like you see something in front of you, you know what it is, but you never question it, so you never think about it. And I stopped doing that. So I would see, you know, like did all the homework myself. I had to learn, you know, the laws of physics from ground zero all over again, just to make sure I was getting factual information or fact-checking myself, basically, using the rules that are on the table.
Right.
And every time I did that, things stopped making sense in this really weird, like, 1984 fashion where you just question everything. And, you know, it's like a gear in a clock just springing out, and you don't know how to put it back together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
yeah, absolutely. Once you do that once you get your head around the whole flat Earth thingy, you don't know what to trust. You look at stuff. It's like, okay, literally, you look at just about every headline and say, how legit is this? You know, can I? You know, you look at the motivations behind it, and any other old conspiracies you may have had in your head. You got to bring back onto the table and look at those again, and you know, things you wrote off. It's
kind of like a cleansing process. I mean, if anything, it diverted my focus to this, but in the same respect, it kind of just threw away everything that I kind of held on to as like I hope this is real, or you know, whatever it would be. I just kind of threw it out and said, you know, there's nothing I can say or do to back this up, so why am I putting faith in something that I can't substantiate?
Right.
And the more I looked into this, you know, that's one of the arguments I've had is, you know, same thing you guys say, don't take my word for it, look it up yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't think that approach works when you got 5 people, you know, berating you with questions that are, you know, whatever their entertainment value is.
Well, again, you know, people can make fun all they want, and that does happen, of course. You know, people just it's the knee-jerk response, which is, "Oh, you're an idiot." It's like, well, what about the? You know how it goes. They look at you, and then it's like all of a sudden they have 100 questions, and you know what they all are going to be is, what about seasons? What about meteors? What about time zones? What about? And this never ends. But at the same time, when you're gone, they've still got those questions, and the more they ask, you know, it's like the La Brea tar pits down in Los Angeles. The quicker you sink, and you're just you know, after about your 20th question, you're in trouble. And to respond to, you know, you're one of the people, many people who were recommended flat Earth videos to them, which is in itself is just bizarre. But only recently there was a YouTube guy, if you saw the article, who left YouTube, and he was talking about their algorithms. And he said it's all automated. He said, look, if you watch, and he mentions it, he says, if you watch 20 flat Earth videos in a row, he goes, what do you think they're going to recommend? You know, multiply that by a whole bunch of people. He goes, it's all about, it's no different than any television station. The television station doesn't want you to turn the channel. YouTube wants you to stay on YouTube. And so whatever is trending, whatever is grabbing the attention of everybody out there, that's what they're going to recommend most. And I thought it was just bizarre when people that were just, you know, looking up JFK, you know, but here's 6 flat Earth videos for you, you know, 9/11, here's another 10, to where there was this guy, I put him on there. Maybe I should dig up that video again and put it in a list somewhere. Just a guy, you know, not a flat earther, and he made a YouTube video about, he was asking the community how to get flat Earth videos turned off from his recommendation. You know, he'd say, no, I don't like, you know, thumbs down, no, I don't want, no, I don't want. He goes, they just keep coming back. And I was going, well, that's because it's become this secret guilty pleasure of so many people in the United States and abroad. It's just a wonder to see and be a part of so far. So, where was I going with this? So you brought it up to a few people, and luckily, they didn't question. I don't know if your boat's big enough to have a ship psychologist on board, but did anyone actually be like, dude, you are freaking whack? Were you catching pretty much the gamut of stuff that's in the comment section of YouTube?
Well, the Navy has I guess the military has a pretty interesting policy on that. And you can quote me on this. It's religious freedom, so you can't persecute or discriminate against someone's religious beliefs.
So
that's another thing.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, well, I was going to say, and there have been several organizations that have said that Flat Earth seems to be like this budding new religion. Because, we use some of those same terms, like beliefs and faith and, the old ways and the new ways. And we quote, we don't have a Bible or anything or uniforms or anything like that. But we do quote a lot of the same stuff. And it does sometimes come off like that.
It does. I would say that just reevaluating myself, looking at how the flat Earth argument is compared to what you would expect from peer-reviewed science in that respect.
Right.
When I'm having difficulty, the worst I could do against the flat Earth is ask a question that can't be answered. But on the flip side, I never have to worry about an answer that can't be questioned on the flat Earth side.
Right.
And I've found a lot of resonance when it comes down to that. And when reviewing that with the Bible, because I know a lot of videos on YouTube, they'll reference that. Something about it clicks, and I don't know how to describe it, but when it makes sense, it makes sense.
It's you're absolutely right. In fact, I did a Christian radio station just 2 days ago, and released it, and it's true. I mean, it's a flat Earth Bible, plain and simple. And in fact, early on, I had at least half of my interviews were religious based, including Canary Cry Radio, who got a hold of Rob Skiba, and then Rob Skiba tracked me down. And Rob was so struck by it that, he made this fantastic website called testingtheglobe.com, where he went into pretty much every chapter and verse that there was. And he goes, with the exception of Isaiah 40:22, he sits upon the circle of the earth. Nothing else can be debated. Nothing. He goes, everything else points to some sort of flat enclosed structure. He goes, the circle of the earth thing, he goes, it doesn't, he goes, even that, has a really, really tough time against me, because circle is not the same word as ball or sphere or globe. Circle is a circle. Your dinner plate, your hubcap, your dining room table. A two-dimensional object can be a circle. Same thing with round. People, your dining room table can be round. Your dinner plate can be round. But I have never questioned the religious side of it. And so is that kind of where is that kind of your out, where you can say that, well, the Bible says it's flat, and that point, religious freedom, they can't touch you?
Well, I wouldn't use it sacrilegiously or blasphemously, but
no.
Once my conviction, because even in the Bible, it preaches doubt before faith, because without it, faith is blind, and it means nothing if you don't have a conviction to stand behind.
Right.
And once my conviction was asserted based off, what I've seen and the arguments being presented, in my mind, I couldn't think of it in a more logical way to accept the word for what it is, and take out all the interpretations that I put on it for, my entire life.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, hell.
And just fresh eyes.
Yeah. I mean, think of all the great stories, and I only mentioned one of them in my clues, which was the Tower of Babel, which makes no sense on a spinning globe at all. It's like you got a tower that's going to reach heaven. How does that work on a sphere that's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, going 60? Around the sun, plus you're in space. Where is that tower going? It's not going anywhere. It's moving. It's in all sorts of points constantly, and yet when you put it in a stationary enclosed structure, you know exactly where that tower is going. It's going to the ceiling. Because that's why they would have built it in the first place. If they didn't have a way to perceive it, we'll use your radar technology there. If they couldn't perceive the dome, then what the heck were they building? The same thing with, not to quote too much chapter and verse, but the story of Joshua. I almost included that in one of the clues, which was how he asked God to keep the sun and the moon in the sky for an extra day so that he could slay more enemies. And this is like, that's so easy to do if it's an enclosed stationary system. You just stop the sun and the moon. You just hit the pause button. That's it. As opposed to a solar system, which you'd have to, I mean, the physics involved of trying to stop a solar system and change all the physics therein, including all the different gravitational computations, would be staggeringly hard by comparison. There's so many, and of course all the fun, quotes. The Earth is moved. The Earth is immovable. The Earth is fixed. Blah blah blah. The water's above and the water's below the firmament. Or again, you've heard my stuff. The Werner von Braun slide, his headstone, which says the year he was born, the year he died, and Psalms 19:1. And I didn't know what Psalms 19:1. I had to look it up. And the firmament shows his handiwork. Why would literally the father of rocket science be talking about this from the grave? They never talked about it in real life. It's like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I rambled.
Well, I think that falls under the open flag policy. Kind of like how like you see the United Nations flag or a pirate, like a Dolly Rogers, same concept. It's throwing it out there for you to see, what the intentions are.
Right.
So it's like based on accountability, or
it's not a
however you want to look at it.
It's not a complete lie if you don't see it. If you
or if you do see it but you choose to ignore it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the United Nations flag, it's there, but nobody ever even looked twice at it. They just why would they?
It's not who's talking. It's just there on the podium.
Yeah. It's just there, and the flag, and that was one of those little things that caught me. As much as I loved, the Admiral Byrd story, there's so many cool things about the flat Earth you pick up on. There's always something that'll resonate with somebody, which is why I love it, because you can't defend against it. You might be able to resist in certain ways, but there's always going to be something that gets you. But it was the fact that Antarctica wasn't on the UN flag. That was one of those things that's like, oh, you clever SOBs. Of course you're not going to put it on there because you don't want people thinking about Antarctica ever. You don't want anyone to even look at that damn thing. And it was, and people say, well, no, it can't be on there. And that, you can't do a map projection like that. You can't show a full world map projection with all the continents and still have Antarctica in there. I go, absolutely, you can. We've had projections like that. I mean, they're distorted since the 1960s, which is why I use as one of my early logos was the globe with all the continents on one side with the sword going through it. And for trivia, for those who don't know where that's from, that is from Star Trek, the original series, the evil parallel universe, with Evil Kirk and Evil Spock, that one episode. And that was their logo that they used. And it was simple. It's like, don't tell me that that the map projection can't be done. It's like, come on. In fact, why would you put the wreaths around it instead of the Antarctic continent? I thought that was fascinating.
Well, you know what the wreaths stand for?
I should know this. No, go ahead.
It's a symbol for control over agriculture. You have the wheat.
Right.
So it's a symbol of control, in typically used for like economy, agriculture, things of those nature.
Weird. All right. No, there you go. I did not know that. Again, it's the United Nations flag, of course, is one. But that was one of the things that also drew me to it because of the Matt Boylan story. Before Matt decided he was going to take drinking up as a career, he told that wonderful story where that guy, the Navy guy, and I don't care if Matt didn't work for him, if he was just there because he was a painter and NASA wasn't paying him directly. I don't care, because I do believe that he was at the party. That part I do believe in. And if you know this story, and that one of his superiors was drawing on the floor in chalk, and Matt said when he was done, he'd basically drawn the entire UN flag. And even then, Matt didn't get it. Well, because who would have? I mean, he was 25, 26, just some wannabe actor / artist. He's looking, having wine, going, that's interesting, I guess. And it takes him, over a year before he finally, it's like, wait a minute. You finally get it, that weird montage movie sequence way later. It's like all those things. It's like they were talking about it like it was literal. And now I can't talk to him anymore. I thought it was fascinating because all these guys would have known, and it's a great secret to keep. If you're on the in, like part of government groups that are monitoring the entire situation, I can imagine it'd be a fun secret to keep, because you're like, yeah, dude, it's not even a globe. Nobody knows. Straight out of the Twilight Zone. Because there's been several Twilight Zones, covering that sort of topic, which is, the world is sorry, not to go off on a rant, but the line from the Truman Show, which is still carries with me, which is, we believe the world that is presented to us. Period. Why would we ever question it? If you're told this when you're 6 years old, you're not going to question anything. And then it just reinforces, and nobody's questioning it. As long as nobody questions it, everything's fine. And only recently have we finally, started breaking this thing down. But I can't say it's because of our intellect. I think it's mostly because of the tech, because of the technology that's in the hands of civilians for the most part. I mean, yeah, the military has access to cooler stuff, but it wouldn't have. Let's say I talked about flat Earth and people grabbed their P900s and went out to the beach, and they still couldn't see a boat at a long range. They'd be like, it's nothing. But everybody did. So, what else do you got on your notes? What else you wanna throw out there? There's nothing off limits as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you can bring up whatever you're comfortable with.
So I've heard you say things that the round Earth wouldn't hold up in a court of law.
Yeah.
Is that something that might ever happen? You or like some of the people in your group take this to court and prove it?
Well, and people have been suggesting that since month 1, which is you should. But the thing is, who do you sue? Because it's got to be a class action lawsuit, and it's like, okay, well, they say, well, you got to go after NASA. It's like bringing a lawsuit against NASA would be tough to do. With the, I mean, we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're at the point.
That'd be too high profile.
Well, yeah, it definitely
And
be.
I mean, why not like a city like education board or like a county or state, something along those lines where it's not picking on one group specifically.
That's not bad. Trying to get into an education curriculum would be difficult, but right now we're really we're taking shots at, again, because of my declaration of war. It's one of the reasons I brought it out there. It's because I can't get anyone in academia to risk their neck to come out against us, even in a serious debate. I'll give you a perfect example. Was the Georgetown professor of astrophysics, who, again, unsolicited, there was a German television team and said, look, we'll take you up in your debate. We'll get a professor for you. I can't tell you how many times people have said that to me. I'll find you a professor, and you can't do it. And so he agreed, and he said, okay, what we'll do is I will ask questions on video, and then I will give them, they will record it, and then they'll play it for him, and then he will get his responses, and they will record that, sort of like a pen pal type thing. And my 5 questions were pretty simple. They said, come up with some quick questions. And I go, okay, long distance photography, vacuum of space versus gravity, the eclipse shadow and why they don't match up, moon versus Earth, the moon temperature, and the Van Allen radiation belts. And that was it. Those 5 questions, and I came up with, there's about a paragraph or 2 in each one of those. And they were real quick. And he folded like a card table. That was it. He said, nope, not doing it. And he backed down. And the reason why, because I've got some friends in different academia, and it was told to me early on. I said, why can't we get anyone? And they go, are you kidding? I go, do you know how much time and money these people have spent on their education? Do you really want to be the guy that goes up against Flat Earth and doesn't win immediately? Because you've got to take down Flat Earth fast. You can't be stuck in the ring 15 rounds, because people will question why you're even in the ring for 10 rounds or 5, let alone 15. You don't want to be the guy that loses, because if you are, you will be removed from your academic community. You'll be ostracized. You'll never be published. You won't. You might as well have just thrown away your education. And so, because of that, they won't risk it. They won't. They will not do it. And so we've just had a devil of a time just getting people. We're still working on it. There's a rumor that it is next month. Next month there is a UK conference happening. And even though they're not really doing press passes or anything like that, they did nail down 3 physicists from the UK to sit in and go, do a debate. And I know this because they asked me to come in via phone, and the UK conference and I aren't on good terms. So I said no. But the fact that they're doing it, well, it's another story for another day. But they're gonna try to do this, and if they do, well, again, I'd love to see the results, because not that they're gonna convince these guys, because if you have a master's degree or higher in any sort of physical science, there's no way you're coming around unless mainstream absolutely said it was a bona fide, put it in a certificate you can frame fact. They will not listen to it because they're just too indoctrinated. So we're trying to go after them. We're trying everything we can, and so far we are making some wonderful headway, because again, the mainstream media has been treating us with kid gloves. They've been interviewing people. They haven't really been torturing us or blindsiding us or punking us. The closest I ever got, I know you probably didn't see it because it's copyrighted, is when I went on Good Morning Great Britain with which is like Good Morning America, only over there, and they brought on frickin' Terry Virts, astronaut, one of the United States astronauts, and they did everything they could to keep me from dealing with him directly. Terry would not say my name. He would not engage me directly. Everything had to go through the host, Piers Morgan. And I even threw out the picture of the Earth, the 43 years between blue marble shots, directly at Terry. And as soon as Terry, froze, Piers Morgan stepped in and saved him. I was like, "Come on, give me something here." Anyway, sorry, that's my little ramble. What else did you?
How is the FE Core project going?
Oh, it went really well. In fact, if you want, you can watch because they went out to Hungary to shoot a military grade laser over and they got all the permits for this, over a lake that they were hoping would be frozen. It wasn't, but it was still super cold, and I think half of them got pneumonia. Not kidding. It was awful, because they're doing this for our community, so they're staying out there as long as they can. It's like, we gotta finish the experiment. I don't know, we've already lost 2 men. Just press on. It's like you almost envision them with sled dogs, although there was roads and hotels, but it was like brutal conditions. But they got all the video, and you can see it on for today's Monday. Oh yeah, it was yesterday. You look at Globebusters from yesterday, and I think the last 45 minutes of the show is all the footage that they took, and it was a success. They they shot lasers at, I can't remember how many kilometers, but it was a long way. And they shot it, and it was perfect. It worked just like they thought it would. They didn't get to go out to the great distances, but they were doing some wonderful stuff. And I'm so glad that FE Core is ramping up and doing their tests. But to be fair, their what was it? The little test. It's just the average everyday person that does these little things that just amazes me. There was a couple, husband and wife team, went out to pretty much a frozen lake, perfectly calm. He set the camera on the ice on his side. It wasn't all the way frozen, but the edges were freezing over. He set up his camera, I think maybe 3 feet off the ice, and he sent her to the other side of the lake. I think it was 7.6 miles or something like that. And she literally put her flashlight on the ice. You couldn't have gotten any lower to it. And right. And he watched it. He saw it. And he's recording the whole thing, and he's got her on cell phone, on speakers. So they're talking to each other. He's like, "Yeah, move it over here." It's like, "Move it where?" "No, down, and it was perfect. It was authentic. It was absolutely, and what we've discovered, and I'll recommend to anyone listening now, is that cold weather conditions help help the test more than anything. Meaning it reduces what you're talking about, that layer of atmosphere and the Fata Morgana, it's almost to nothing. When you drop the temperatures down to freezing, that's when you can really get some great long distance shots, and which means you can only really do them over lakes, but it works, and I'm glad that people are out there doing the stuff and inspired to do it. So anyway, what else? Anything?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. Well,
Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't know if I do. Let me think. Normally I take calls about now, but I don't want you to take calls because we don't have any callers because there's not a show, because it's a pre-record in case anyone's just jumping in now. No, not really. Just that, I can't thank you enough for coming on and speaking and being part of the subject matter testimony series, which has been going on since the back part of 2015. And, what amazes me more than anything is that all these guys have lined up and given all these great things of info, and nobody's come back and recanted. Nobody, and what's amazing to me, I'm still shocked at this, is nobody, and I'd tell you guys if it was real, nobody has called me up from from their respective professions, be it military or civilian, and said, "You know what? I think this Navy guy's a piece of crap. I'm in the Navy. Here's why he's wrong." right? Nobody's done that. It's like, why wouldn't you? I mean, come on anonymously, and it's because I think it's in their heads. I think if you're in that same profession and you listen to it, you know, like people are listening to you now, there's probably some Navy guys going, you know what, this isn't that crazy. I'm not going to tell anybody though. Especially my significant other, because I don't want to lose my family and my friends. But so thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll talk again down the road. Don't forget to follow the rules, which is don't bring it up to people unless you've got some sort of out. But it sounds like you're pretty safe. It's not like the pilot that I talked to from KLM, who basically she's not flying anymore because the company doctor said, well, we can't have you flying airplanes if you think the Earth is flat. But if anyone wants to look up what you do, they should look up what in Wikipedia?
So if you just type in cryptologic technician, the list goes on. Electronic warfare, Wikipedia would have everything involved. And if you're concerned about the equipment that I work on, that's the equipment itself isn't classified, and it's called a AN/Slick32,
Okay.
SLQ TAC32.
Okay.
And there's different versions of that depending on what the ship's role is. And that basically just entails jamming or no jamming.
Okay.
But it's, like I said, the equipment itself isn't classified. And for the most part, you can get a pretty good idea of what I do without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, as far as like what radar looks like on my screen. But everything else is open for review.
All right. Well, sounds awesome. All right. Well, with that, we will wrap this show up, and then I will, if I've got any time left, because I honestly don't know, because I have to break this up and squeeze it into things. If I have any time left, I will probably read a few emails at the end, because remember, it's not live, so can't take any calls. And until next time, guys, stay flat. So, now that our guest is gone, normally the show would end. However, we've still got like 30-something minutes left, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill it with emails, because this is a pre-record show and you can't call in. So even though you're listening to this live, it's not really live. I'm not actually there. I'm listening to it with you. So let's just crank out some emails, and then we'll wrap up the show here in a little bit. The first one is called Horizon Amazing. Hey, Mark, I have only just got a Nikon P900 and traveled to Tasmania last week. From Devonport to the south coast of Victoria, Australia is close to 250 kilometers, and from an elevation of 9 meters, I can see the ship Silver Linings from 120 kilometers away. Look at all the photos and screenshots. I have video footage and more photos. You are more than welcome to disclose all my contact details in your broadcast so I can connect with flat earthers in Australia. Keep doing what you're doing. All the best. And heck, let's just give out his info since he wants it. Lincoln Sharp, SHARPE, and that's Lincoln Sharp at yahoo.com. And his number is 0435710420. So check him out, Lincoln Sharp at yahoo.com if you're down in the Australian area. This one's called Cover Song. Hey, bud, I set out to make a new Flat Earth cover tune and chose this song. After 5 seconds of examination, I realized it was already a Flat Earth song. So I just made my own Southwestern synthwave cover of Pink Floyd, Another Brick in the Wall, and I just left the lyrics the same. I'll put up some boring video on my channel, indigestion for it, but I was hoping you would make something cool happen with it. MP3 is attached. Best wishes, Joe. Just so you know, I know I used to make a lot of Flat Earth music videos. People would just send me the music. I don't have as much time. I will see if I can get to it, though. So I will try. But put up your own and then send me the link. If you put up just even a boring video, that's fine. Send me a link and I will very least put it on my playlist, which is the Flat Earth Music playlist 2015 to present. This one's called Jamie from the Philippines. Hi, Mark. I just hope you get to read my email. I just want to give it a try and email you. I can say I believe the world is flat. At first, I laughed at the flat earthers, and there are times when I mocked at their videos on Facebook. But then there's this one time when some of our friends came over and we discussed about the flat earth. A small talk that led to a debate, and as soon as it was over, it got me thinking. So the next day I did my research. I found out that I was lied to by my teachers since elementary, by the media, and most of all by the government. I'm still doing some research now, and there are an endless information about everything, and I am overwhelmed. I'm happy I stumbled upon my flat earther friends and thank them dearly. By the way, I just watched some of your YouTube videos about the clues on flat earth. I have a few questions that I'm still working to answer myself through research, but I want to hear your opinion or the facts. Here are some below. 1, are we alone in the universe? 2, are there other planets? Is it inside the firmament? Yeah, you see where this is going, right? 3, if there are no stars, what are the ones they're calling as falling stars? Are they man-made? That's all for now. I have a lot of questions in mind, but let's stick to those first. Thank you for your time reading this. I appreciate it. You have a good day or night. Thank you, Jamie. Heck, I'll answer him. Are we alone in the universe? Not a chance. No way, no how. You can go up and look at that yourself with night vision binoculars. We are definitely not alone in the universe. Are there other planets? Is it inside the firmament? Yes, and yes. The planets are just lights in the sky. They're just part of a giant light system. If there are no stars, then what are the ones they're calling as falling stars? Are they man-made? No, not man-made, but they're part of the system. Meteors and shooting stars. They're just part of the elaborate system that is the three-dimensional world that we live in. So hopefully that helps you. And thank you for writing, by the way. This one's called Survival Guide, Please. Thank you, Sir Mark. Yep, if anyone wants the survival guide, you can just email me at msargent23@comcast.net, and I will send you a 2 meg PDF file, which is my 100-page survival guide. It's free. Just try to print it out. You know, don't be a schmutz and not print it out.
It seems to me so strange. Check wallet for his name. His face is in the muck. I think his zipper's stuck.
If the lights go out, because it's designed for a long-term power outage, and if your power goes out, then you're just going to be trying to read this thing by hooking your phone adapter up to your car. You're just kind of silly. Get a hard copy. This one's called Starman Cameras. Mark's sitting here watching one of Robbie's replay live videos, and I'm looking at the stupid car again. Then it hits me. Did you notice that all 3 cameras are obscured from each other at every single angle? They made sure that you cannot see the other cameras. Yeah, it's brilliant, by the way. So I'm not sure if anyone has caught that so far. The side one, you can't see the one hanging off the bumper, and you can't see the one on the other side of the Starman. From the front, they made sure the top of the window frame was blocking the view of the camera next to Starman. And from the rear view center, they made sure the camera mounted on the forks of the hood are obscured from that view. Why? First thing that came to mind to me was they're all separate shots, and he was so cheap he only had one camera. No, I doubt that. For me, that raises a serious question. Has a huge coincidence from 3 different angles if you cannot see the other two other cameras. Thoughts, Ryan? Yeah, it's absolutely interesting, and a lot of people missed it, which was there were 3 selfie sticks, or 2 selfie sticks and one camera mounted in the headrest, and none of the cameras could see each other. coincidentally. It was just fascinating. You know, the side camera could not see far enough front to see the front camera, and the headrest camera was blocked by the frame of the car, and the front camera could not see that. Same thing with the headrest, and it was really, really interesting. So yeah, that, and of course the rear view mirror was missing. This one's called No Subject. Hi, buddy. All right. I'm a huge fan of your videos on YouTube, and I've been dying to write to you one of these days about the topics you discussed on YouTube. It was a year ago since I became really interested in the flat earth theory and what the government mostly disguised as conspiracy theories. I'm aware I do not know enough to make points with references like you, but they say, seek and you shall find. As you can see, it took me a few guts to write to you. You know, writing to a total stranger, but I want to break that wall between my fear and what lies beyond and find help from people like you. I can say I'm so inspired by your work, and please keep them coming. Keep making them great videos about them hidden facts. I live in Australia, by the way, but I came from a third world country, South Sudan. Since my arrival here, the time has gone so fast, and you get curious, you know, ask questions, even though sometimes you don't get what you are looking for. I have a curious mind, and I have watched and read tons of videos and articles about flat earth theory, mostly from your page. I'm here to say thank you, and if there are any books of knowledge that you can recommend, please send me a link, and it would be my pleasure. I'm glad that I actually message you and hope that you can reply to my message. Sincerely, V, which stands for Veranda. Cool. This one's called Flat Earth Atheist. Dear Mark, please stay calm. The only times I see you a little unsettled are when you mention the word atheist. Just remember, my brother, we have more in common than we have differences. As a matter of fact, the only difference I see is you believe in seeking an energy force. I think we became that energy force. I believe that you are an honorable man. There are atheists that want to be part of the flat earth truth. I pleaded with you, sir, and others to be more inviting to them. We have the responsibility to create a platform that includes everyone who wants to join. Thank you so much for your hard work. Best wishes. I hope to see you one day in the real world. Flat Atheist. Again, I got nothing against atheists, only that I don't necessarily believe that they are true atheists. You know, I've yet to meet someone that says, oh yeah, there's nothing outside of this, that when you die, that's it. There is no higher power whatsoever. I've met a lot of agnostics who kind of acknowledge there is some sort of higher power. They're just not going to put a name on it. Heck, I've been accused of that from time to time. So, hey, I mean, if you're an atheist, that's fine and everything. I think it's a little silly because the flat world, the problem is this. I don't want to dwell on it. The problem is that if you are a true atheist, how can you believe in a flat earth? Because the flat earth is not organic. You know, especially if it's an enclosed, pressurized structure. It obviously was built by someone, and if you want to go down that road and say, well, it's just an advanced civilization, it's like, okay, then you're splitting hairs. Then you're saying there is a higher power. You're just saying it's not divine, and at that point you're coming down to definitions. That's my problem. So if you want to hang on to that's fine. But yeah, anyway. But thank you for writing the letter. This one's called Another Flat Earth Plate. Plate? Hey, Mark, here's another one for your collection. Really enjoying your videos. Oh, crap. This is the one, I think, from Florida, isn't it? Let me open this real quick. Flat Earth license plate. No, West Virginia. Right. Yeah, I did already use that one in the compilation. If anyone has a Flat Earth license plate, please send it to me. We have most of the continental United States and I think half of the Canadian provinces. Those are the only two countries that allow vanity plates, of course, because, you know, that's one of the things we do here. But if you have one, if you have a variation on the Flat Earth license plate, if you can express it in 7 or 8 letters or even 6 in some cases, send it to me and I will put it in part of my slideshow and put it in my license plate compilation. If you want to see what we have so far, just type into YouTube Flat Earth license plates and you'll see I've done it, I think, every month for 15 months now, and it just keeps growing and growing, and there's some really fun plates out there. So have a good time doing something creative and getting the word out. A lot of people will scratch their heads when they're pulling in behind you. You look in the rearview mirror and they'll be like reading your plate going, it's flat or flat earth. It's like, what do you think they mean by that? This scares me. All right, this one's called South African Flat Earther. Hey there, Mark. My name is Abraham Spies. I live in South Africa and went full-on Flat Earther in my Facebook account about a year ago. 6 months ago, my account was disabled, and I have been locked out ever since. I would love to make contact with your guest since there are a few Flat Earthers I can talk to in South Africa. Can you send me his email address? Which one? I don't know which one he's talking about. May Jesus Christ, our Lord, protect and guide you. Kindest regards, Abraham Spies. And so I will give you guys his cell phone number and his email address. His cell phone number is 066-215-7089. Please note that he is in South Africa. And his email address, if I can grab it here, is Abraham at, assessing.com, but it's with 3 A's. So AAASSESSING.com. Abraham at assessing.com. So if you guys want to contact him, if you're in South Africa, by all means. This one's called Flat Earth. Morning, Mark. There is a Bible teacher named Joel Richardson who has issued a challenge. I was wondering if you are aware of the challenge and your thoughts. Short flights in the southern hemisphere. If the earth were flat, then flying, for example, from here we go, Sydney, Australia to Santiago, Chile would take us directly over Alaska, etc. It would take in the range of 30 plus hours. Yet this is not the route these flights take, and this is not how long they take. Instead, the Sydney to Santiago flight goes over parts of Antarctica and takes about 14 hours. This is undeniable proof the earth is spherical. The short flight challenge. I am offering Rob Skiba or any other prominent flat earth proponent to fly this route with me. If the flight takes 20 to 40 hours, I will pay for the whole trip for both of us and publicly repent. If the flight takes roughly 14 to 15 hours, then they will pay for the whole trip and for both of us and publicly repent. The longer post is on this website, joelstrumpet.com. Thanks, Scott Gittleson. And there's his phone number. Scott, it's not the plane flight. That's not what the big concern is. It's the fact that you can't prove the route. Meaning, which is why I did Clue 9. Remember in Clue 7, I said there really were almost no, and there's almost no direct flights in the southern hemisphere. But when some people said, especially the Sydney, Australia to Santiago, Chile, said, no, those flights exist. I go, fine. And then I looked up and found out that you can't prove the route because the latitude and longitude coordinates disappear. If the route cannot be proven, then who cares if the flights are real? It's the route that I care about. I care about the latitude and longitude. But thank you for the challenge. This one's called Moon Express, applauding the Google Lunar X Prize. And yep, that's the article. So someone won the prize. No, the Google X Prize was canceled permanently. For those of you guys who've forgotten, and it's recent. It's very, very recent. Google X Prize had been running for several years, and they said you had to launch by the end of 2017. And there were 5 countries that were tied to this with boosters, and the whole thing was you have to send some sort of device, a rover or whatever, to the moon that can beam back pictures. But you had to launch by the end of 2017. And nobody did. Nobody even came close. And so they kicked the can down the road. They said, well, okay, we'll give them until April of 2018. And then when they realized that was never going to happen back in February, they said, you know what, that's it, we're done. And so they shut down the Google Lunar X Prize permanently. And which makes perfect sense because it's something you can't fake. You can't fake moon stuff anymore. The detection ability by the general population is just too strong. This one's called Private Jimmy here. What's your email? Literally, okay. Private Jimmy. He goes, what's your email, man? No dot between the M and S? No. Why would there be a dot between the M and the S? It's just msargent23 at comcast.net. I don't even understand what he's getting there. No dot between the M and S. Like military sergeant? Whatever. I have no idea what that meant. Flat Earth, this one's called Flat Earth Videos. Hi, Mark Sargent. Do you have more info on the Flat Earth Society? I'm interested in meeting more like-minded folks that want to explore the Earth, find the firmament. Ed. No, Ed, if you're listening, no. The Flat Earth Society, the main body, and by that I mean 99% of the flat earthers that are out there have nothing to do with the society. We're all tied to social media. Social media has outpaced any of the old guard when it comes to the society. And I don't know anyone that spoke at the conference, for example, in Raleigh, excuse me, that were tied to it in any way, shape, or form. I joined a membership back in the end of 2014 just to see what it was about. But then that whole thing shut down, and it's kind of been brought back. And I think I'm still on the membership list, but I never go to the website. I learned that early on that there's just nothing happening there, which is surprising. You would have thought. Remember, they contacted me in last year, beginning of last year, I think, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'd like to get involved and kind of help out with what you guys are doing." I'm going, "Where have you been? We've been going like gangbusters for a couple of years now, and just now the Flat Earth Society is like, oh yeah, maybe we should pay attention." It's like, have you seen the news stories on what we've been doing? So yeah, no need to go to the societies at all. Just stick with social media and the Facebook groups and the YouTube groups and join some live chats. You're going to be much better off. This one's called Van Allen Belt Radio Waves. Mark, another one for your show. Can radio waves travel through the Van Allen belts? If not, how did the Apollo missions broadcast radio communications from the moon? Absolutely. And then there's a wiki entry on that. Van Allen radiation belt. The belts trap energetic electrons and protons. I studied radar principles in the United States Navy. Signal strength would be key in this discussion. Although they claim space is the perfect vacuum and should be able to carry radio waves extremely long distances, I don't see how they could ever expect anyone to believe a radio wave could travel 200,000 miles plus. I mean, really, come on. Radio waves have known distance limitations. Here on Earth, we have difficulty with cell phone services in rural areas that exceed 10 to 20 miles away from the nearest towers. I know that is a basic example and may not fully apply, but it helps makes the argument. Distance is critical for radio wave communications. Then for the Van Allen belts, seems to me would cause all sorts of frequency distortions, if not completely blocking them from reaching the Earth altogether. How do they expect us to believe their story at all? Yeah, absolutely. I am not the expert in the field, but maybe one of your listeners has more expertise in the field and can provide a more thorough set of data to either back up this idea one way or the other. Thank you for your time, and I would really like to hear back from you on this topic in case I miss any of your broadcasts that may cover this topic. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, good stuff. Absolutely. This one's called Independent Video of Heavy Falcon Booster Landing. Hey Mark, everyone says there is no independent video of the Falcon Heavy Booster landings, but I found one and posted it. Check it out. It's on YouTube. That's from Jim Patton in Lindale, Texas. P.S. I'm pretty sure that's Musk's Roadster is not the first car in space, but I'll let you know when I find the original one and get it posted, Jim. And yeah, Jim, I hate to break this to you, but don't think that just because it seems like amateur video, that it is amateur video. The perfect example would be, and I know it's going to ruffle a few feathers out there, would be 9/11, which is there were several people that supposedly released amateur video, and we've all been trained. It's like, well, if it's amateur video, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be raw and real. And it's like, yeah, but those planes, remember my little rants about ballistics, those planes are made out of hollow aluminum and plastic. How are they punching through 2 feet of solid steel? Reinforced, designed to withstand an airplane crash. How? And you're saying, well, it's a lot of kinetic energy. I'm going, yeah, I love kinetic energy too. And if you want to say the fuselage is punching through, that's fine. But those wings should have pancaked on the side of that building like a bird, and should have stayed there. Just the gas should have ignited, and it should have been surface damage. So then you say, well, the amateur video shows the plane going in, and I'm going, okay, then one of two possibilities. Either that plane is defying all laws of conventional physics in doing what it did, or the amateur video was faked. Which one are you most likely to believe? Just saying. But thank you, Jim. This one's called Red's Rhetoric, Eric Dubé. Hey, Mark, thanks for all your work. Love it. So happy that I'm awake. Just listened to your interview with the host in South Africa, and he is 100% right. Oh, that's why they were asking about South Africa, because I did an interview with a guy in South Africa. Red's Rhetoric is totally Eric Dubé. Really? Maybe. I've heard weirder. Red's Rhetoric in his globe Earth, flat Earth hating alter ego. He does a piss poor job of hiding it too. LOL. Carry on, Jason. Thank you, Jason. This one's called, let's see here. This one's called Flat Earth Follow-Up Polar Satellites. Hi, Mark. This is Jay. Hope it's all well there. I wrote several sections in my books, number 4 and number 7, about the flat Earth issues, and I had a reader respond to my Quantum Earth Simulation, chapter 11, where I support the flat Earth idea, and he asked me if I ever heard of polar orbit satellites. No, I had not. And of course, if there are such things that disprove the flat Earth issue, doesn't it? What is your response to that? Are there polar orbiting satellites as far as you know, or is that a myth? I still hang out with the flat Earth theory, as I have seen a lot of evidence for it. And yet, thanks, Jay. I don't know anything about polar orbiting satellites. I don't. I don't know much. Other than I don't believe the satellites were put up by rockets. I think they're probably using part of the NASA high altitude balloon project stuff using hydrogen gas, because as you guys know, I try to teach things. Hydrogen gas has a lot more lift than helium gas. Oh, but there's a problem, and that is hydrogen gas is explosive. Not like bomb explosive, but it's pretty damn explosive. So the old Zeppelins back in the day use hydrogen gas, and if you want to watch the video of the famous crash, the Hindenburg, when those things go, they go. Now helium is not flammable, so you can use it, but it doesn't have nearly as much lift, so you can't use as big. You can't create those fantastic airships, which I really enjoyed. All right, this one's called regarding your interview with Justin Stellman. Hi, Mark. I really enjoyed your interview with Justin back from October. I remember how you told him that you don't go to church anymore. It's true. As a former Catholic, then Lutheran, then Baptist, how does that work? Our family went on a journey in search for truth and never was satisfied with what mainstream Christianity had been pipping out there. But over 25 years ago, we started going to a non-denominational church that taught the Bible rightly divided according to 2 Timothy 2:15, and our whole viewpoint on the Bible has changed drastically for the better. So if you're open to hearing more, you're more than welcome to join us. Watch our services online. Our site is shorewoodbiblechurch.org. Take care, my friend, Nick. Well, thank you, Nick. This one's called Throne of God. Hi, Mark. I like your show a lot. I heard your show with the guys telling you about the paper, Strange World 43. Thank you so much. You can send the paper at my address. Wish you the best. Sincerely, Emmanuel. Sorry about my orthograph mistakes. My first language is French. Oh, well, then you are excused. This one's called To Mark from a Fan and Follower. Let's see here. Mark Sargent, hi from a small village of Hillsborough, New Brunswick, Canada. I'm going to say 2 random things to start. Neither one have to do with the other. I was an Eric Dubé follower until then found you. His views overall, not so much. But he opened my eyes on the flat earth. You, on the other hand, right on in all aspects. I'm a Christian and recently been saved. I hear you speak about other aspects and belief on your shows, so I'm following you. Are you protecting yourself? As in, I have a feeling or a voice telling me your life may be in danger at some point. Well, not yet. There are people who will eventually have enough of all of us flat earth God believers as it's growing and boiling. I'm not a psychic or anything. I don't want to be sending any negativity your way, but please, Mark, watch yourself, and I pray God watches over you and keeps you and your family safe, and may he protect you with his shield of armor. You are brave, and please continue to use your powers for good. I know this is long, but if you have a chance, it's worth it, and it saved my life literally and now eternally. Thank God for his revelations to us, and thank you for all you do, Mark. You do way. way more than, sorry, it's punctuation, than maybe you think for a lot of us, as you will read further down that you are the voice a lot of us can't yell. No one will listen, or they make us and feels like we don't know what to do with this information. But thanks to you and many others, you are speaking for us, and it's a relief in a strange way. If you understand, I'd love also to have a copy of the survival guide if you have the time. See, he put the survival guide. I have not sent the survival guide to him because it's buried in the middle of this email. So now I have to put it over this thing and remember this. This is a recent post I posted on a Flat Earth Revolution on Facebook, but not sure what organizations I should be liking and following. As you know, a lot are false or fakes. If you have any good Facebook groups I should or shouldn't follow, please let me know. So confusing not knowing what's BS and what's real. I'm not actually on Facebook. I'm stretched too thin as it is. I can't do any more social media than I'm already in, unless I have an assistant I eventually hire. Let's see. He wrote this. We see, for example, the Little Dipper, which is just a pattern of stars. We learn to find out and know in the night sky, and for thousands of years they stayed lined up and perfect in the night sky and can be predicted. When we are brainwashed to think it's all flying around the sun infinitely through space, never ending, BS. We went to the moon, blah, blah, blah. And he writes a little bit more on some of this stuff about what he did on this Facebook post. But let me end this because there's one more little email I want to. So he goes, thanks for reading, Mark. God bless, and hope to meet you one day. P.S. Canada needs some Mark Sargent and Awakenings. Honestly, that's great. So I got to put this in my to-do file because I got to send him a guide. And real quick, I wanted to say there was an email that came today, and normally I don't do these out of order, but it was sent by Ajika, A-K-C-I-J-A, Akjiga, whatever. And it's called this. It's called James May Steps into a Vacuum Chamber. James May at the Edge of Space. It's a BBC production. I think it was part of the Top Gear series where James May, got to do some fun stuff. And he said this to me because I said one of my new challenges is, look, put me in a freaking astronaut suit and then put me in a vacuum chamber so I can see what happens. And what's interesting here is he was searching the internet to try to find people in a vacuum suit, and he found James May in an Air Force suit, which is different than an astronaut suit. An astronaut suit is completely self-contained, right? Whereas an Air Force suit, you're hooked up to a plane. It's part of a pressurized suit, also a blood pressure suit to keep you from blacking out when you get up to the edge of space, where by the time you get up to a certain altitude, the vacuum forces start to apply. But what's interesting is when you watch this video, this suit, he's sitting down, he does not stand, he's sitting down, and he's got a whole bunch of pressurized tubes hooked up to him. And this is a heavy duty simulation thing where the vacuum chamber is real, that I have no doubt, but they're very, very, he is hooked up to a lot of stuff, because remember, the suit he is wearing is not an astronaut suit, it is an Air Force suit. It is part of the plane. It is an extension of the plane. It is hooked up to a lot of machinery. That is the only reason it can survive a vacuum, opposed to an astronaut suit. And that's what I really want, which is a freestanding suit. So all this stuff you're seeing, if you watch this video, James May steps into a vacuum chamber. When you're watching this, you realize that it is part of a giant machine. Try to figure out how everything they're doing with his suit is contained in a little backpack that's on the back of an astronaut. That's what I want. The astronaut suit is not going to prove anything because, it's just part of the room. It might as well be part of the vacuum chamber. An astronaut suit, that's intriguing. I really, really think that's amazing. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to try to edit this thing now and put it up. And thank you to our guest that came on for the United States Navy, and thank you guys for listening, and thank you for everybody that sent me emails. Until come back next week, because I will be here, same flat time, same flat channel.